The Truck Series points leader won't race at Gateway this weekend. Alex Bowman says he won't be driving a sprint car anytime soon. And is Corey LaJoie a legit playoff contender? Let's discuss. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Friday. Some breaking news we'll have to get to in a moment. Also, some other interesting stories I missed this week. But first, this episode is sponsored by 1821 Man-Made. 1821 offers top shelf grooming goods for the aspiring gentleman. Inspired by Prohibition-era bootleggers, the 1821 Barrel House empowers men to be the gentlemen that they deep down aspire to be through professional-grade grooming products and lifestyle wisdom. Their 3-in-1 shower gel for beard, hair, and body comes in multiple different scents. You've got to try this out for yourself. Head to 1821manmade.com. I'll also put the link down in the description and use code 1821NASCAR for 25% off your order. Thank you to 1821 Man-Made for sponsoring the show. Be sure to go check them out, especially with Father's Day right around the corner. We've got two breaking news stories today. First, the Cup race at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway this weekend, has officially sold out for the second year in a row, which is awesome news. When I go online, the capacity is still listed at 78,000. I don't know if that number is up to date or if that includes all the campsites, but I know last year's crowd looked intense. Sounds like this year will be more of the same, which is awesome. Be sure to stay hydrated if you're heading out to the track this weekend. The weather looks pretty clear, but also looks hot, gonna be in the 90s. So wear sunscreen, drink water, have a good time. The second story that broke this morning, Craftsman Truck Series points leader Corey Heim will not race tomorrow afternoon. Tricon Garage released this statement. Corey Heim will miss this weekend's NASCAR Truck Series event at Worldwide Technology Raceway due to illness. Jesse Love will fill in behind the wheel of the number 11 Safelite Toyota Tundra TRD Pro in his series debut. Tony Breidinger will drive the number 1 Home Smiles Tundra that was originally slated to be piloted by Love. We'll work with NASCAR to seek a medical waiver to retain playoff eligibility for Heim and the number 11 team. I have no doubt in my mind they will receive that playoff waiver. First off, what a whirlwind weekend for Jesse Love, making his first Truck Series start. Now suddenly he's switching teams. I mean, it's all still Tricon Garage, but he's gonna have maybe slightly different guys around him. I mean, good luck to Jesse Love, highly touted prospect. I think he'll do well. Tony Breidinger driving the one truck. Good luck. We'll see what she's got. As for Corey Heim, I hope he feels better soon. Must be a serious illness to keep him out of the truck. Again, it is going to be hot this weekend. I'm sure that played a role in this decision. But Corey Heim, in his first full-time Truck Series season, now with Tricon Garage, last year he ran a good portion of the schedule for KBM. He is the points leader. He's got a win. He's got more top 10s than anyone else this year. He's leading all Truck Series regulars in laps led. It's Heim time, baby. Quietly, I think we can say quietly, Corey Heim has put together a very impressive season. He has a 26-point lead in the regular season standings. He'll likely lose most, potentially all of that by missing this race, but he's still in a very good points position. I like Corey Heim. He's not super flashy, like his interviews are the most textbook cut and dry interviews of all time. I don't know how he's able to say Safelite Tundra TRD Pro as fast as he does. Safelite Tundra TRD Pro. He rattles it off beautifully. But jokes aside, Corey Heim is one of the most polished, young, up-and-coming prospects we've seen in NASCAR in quite some time. I hope this is the only race he misses because I've been very impressed by the talent he has shown so far this season. This does stink though because he actually won Gateway last year when racing part-time for Kyle Busch, so he would have been the favorite or one of the favorites this weekend. Unfortunately won't be racing, but get well soon. Real quick, before we talk about some NASCAR Cup Series drivers, I'm wearing this shirt for a good reason. I'm happy to report that if you pre-ordered one of these Out of the Groove Brennan Poole Xfinity Series diecasts, they have begun to ship out. I actually saw a tweet yesterday from someone who already got there, so they're going out. They should be arriving very, very soon. I truly appreciate the support once again. I cannot believe that this diecast, this scheme, is about to be a part of so many NASCAR fans' diecast collection. Honestly, to me, that's as cool, maybe even cooler, than being on the real car. Yeah, as someone who, as you can see, I got some behind me here, grew up collecting diecasts, big and small. This is a true dream come true, and I'm excited for all of you to get these cars in your collection at long last. Once again, thank you all so much for the support. let's get to some Cup Series news. This soundbite I'm about to play for you is actually a couple of days old, but I finally have some time to actually react to it, talk about it. Alex Bowman was on Sirius XM NASCAR radio this week talking about his racing future. Will he continue to race sprint cars after the crash and the injury he suffered a few weeks back? Alex Bowman made his NASCAR return this past weekend at Charlotte, and it sounds like it may be a while until he races a dirt car again.
And I will get back to it at some point. I just don't know when that point is going to be. Like, missing 5 races last year, obviously that injury happened in a Cup car, but then turning around and missing 3 races or 4 races this year, like, I want to be in the Cup car, right? Like, I can't afford to miss anymore. So
this is the correct and mature decision. Now, I don't know if Rick Hendrick may be twisting his arm behind the scenes, but either way, this is the right move. Look, anything could happen. Alex Bowman could spin out, crash at Gateway this weekend, and be out of the car another few weeks. God forbid. But Alex Bowman right now needs to do whatever he can to mitigate the risk. I still believe that running midweek races or dirt races actually makes a lot of these NASCAR drivers better on Sunday, but Alex Bowman right now is a special case. Between the end of last season, the first half of this season, he's missed a number of races thanks to 2 separate injuries, a head injury and a back injury. I'm no expert, but from what I understand, it's easier to get your bell rung a second time if there's been a first time. And back injuries absolutely are no joke either. So while it's not fun to not race your car, this is the smart decision. Alex Bowman needs to do whatever he can to take care of his body, make sure the only physical risks he's taking are on Sunday, trying to win NASCAR Cup Series races and pursue a NASCAR Cup Series championship. If he can stay healthy this year, make the playoffs, which right now he would be the 16th and final driver in, then, like he said, someday he should be able to get back behind the wheel of a sprint car. Eventually, in due time, it will make sense for him to return, but for the time being, I think he's making the right call. That doesn't mean I think every driver should be forced to sit out all dirt races, all extracurricular activities, but Alex Bowman, because of the injury history, he is a special case, and I think he's making the right decision. Now, before we wrap up this week has been full of breaking news. NASCAR suspending Chase Elliott, slamming Chase Briscoe and Stuart Haas with massive penalties. We haven't had much time to actually talk about racing. Like, who's been good lately? Who's trending in the right direction? Who's maybe struggling, trying to find speed, get back on track? I wanted to spend these last few minutes once again discussing who's hot and who's cold at this point in the regular season. Our first red hot driver is an obvious one. He's the most recent winner, Ryan Blaney. Do y'all realize he's jumped all the way up to 2nd in points? He's only 1 point behind Ross Chastain for the regular season lead. He's made up a ton of ground the past 6 weeks. His average finish the last 6 races is 6.3. But the win at Charlotte this past weekend really puts him over the edge. Is this a turning point for Ryan Blaney? Time will tell, but in my opinion, Charlotte was his most impressive NASCAR Cup Series win to date. It's between Charlotte and Pocono, his first career win, but I'm going to give the edge to the Coke 600 because he led 163 laps, he won a stage, he dominated. Day into night, he had the best car, it appeared. And the driver, despite constantly being put behind the 8 ball on pit road with William Byron's team coming out with the lead every single cycle, Blaney was able to pass Byron on the track time after time. I know it was easier to pass at Charlotte than it is many other tracks in this car, but that's still really impressive. Team executed, driver especially executed. Charlotte was Ryan Blaney's most impressive performance to date, in my opinion. Like I said, he dominated, and historically, Ryan Blaney's wins, he has 8 career wins now, typically, they don't come in necessarily dominating fashion. Like, he's won 3 super speedway races, at least 1 or 2 of them have been photo finishes. That win at the Roval in 2018, was just a lucky win. I think we can all say that. And in those 3 wins in 2021, he never led more than 25 laps in any one of them. So Charlotte, by far his most dominating victory. Is this a turning point? Do we see a different Ryan Blaney going forward? Right now, he's the best driver out of Team Penske this year. He and Logano have 1 win apiece. Confidence is key, and I think Ryan Blaney going into this summer has to have a ton of confidence, more than he's had probably in a year and a half. Our first ice-cold driver right now, unfortunately, is Daniel Suarez. I know it was a long time ago, but Daniel Suarez was 3rd in points after the 3rd race of the season. Now, Daniel Suarez is 18th. 20 points outside of the playoff picture. And he's only had one top 10 finish his last 11 races, and it was at Talladega. I know Daniel Suarez fans will be quick to point out the bad luck, like Circuit of the Americas. He was a victim of the ridiculous turn 1 dive bombs. Atlanta, he got caught up in a crash. You could argue Charlotte this past weekend, he got caught up in a crash. But Daniel Suarez has also made some mistakes. He spun out at Dover, crashed out early. He sped on pit road at Darlington and then got caught up in a crash while he was in the back. So some of their struggles are certainly self-inflicted. They just don't seem to have consistently top 5 or even top 10 speed right now. Even Charlotte, yeah, I know he got caught up in a crash there towards the end, but he really wasn't a top 10 car all day. To be fair, his teammate Ross Chastain wasn't very good either. Just seemed like an off weekend for Trackhouse across the board. But I'm worried about Daniel Suarez because as long as you're running between 12th to 18th place, you are in the middle of the madness. It may be bad luck you got caught up in someone else's wreck, but it's your fault you're in the middle of that chaos to begin with. Hopefully Daniel Suarez can turn things around. Our next red hot driver, I've got to mention this guy, maybe he's obvious, but that's William Byron. We talked about Ryan Blaney's average finish. William Byron, the past 5 races, has an average finish of 3.4. Oh my! Byron's got the most wins, the most top 5s, the most laps led, the most stage wins of anyone in the Cup Series this year. He's only 4 points behind the regular season points leader, and remember, that's despite the 60-point penalty he received. That 24 team may be the best Hendrick group right now. They're certainly the most consistent. Kyle Larson and the 5 team may have them beat slightly on raw speed, but they've been checkers or wreckers. Larson's got like 6 DNFs this year. William Byron, 3rd in points, knocking on the door of the regular season points lead. They have been far more consistent. Watch out for William Byron the rest of this year. He is on a tear. Another driver though that's ice cold, sophomore slump, Austin Cindric. 14 races in, he is still looking for his first top 5 of the season. He had 5 of them last year. His last top 10 finish was 9 races ago at, of course, a road course. His average finish is 6 positions worse than it was last year. Austin Cindric is currently 42 points below the cut line. It's just not been good. No other way to say it. Penske has been maybe a little off. Ford, especially at some of the intermediates, with the exception of Blaney last week, has been a little off as well. But at some point, some of that responsibility falls on Austin Cindric, Jeremy Bullins, that whole number 2 team. You compare him to Blaney, to Logano, to his teammates, he's far behind. All hope is not lost for Austin Cindric, though. We're about to enter, I think, a really good stretch of races for him with Sonoma and the Chicago Street Race coming up. Of course, we still have Indianapolis and Watkins Glen before the playoffs begin, so I imagine he'll get at least a few top 10s, maybe a couple top 5s at those tracks. That will help out quite a bit, but at some point, Austin Cindric needs to show improvement on ovals. 30 out of 36 races this year are on ovals. This is NASCAR. Still, gotta be good at turning left. And again, I know the cars don't seem to be as good as they were last year, for sure, but Austin Cindric still needs to show some improvement. Sophomore slump right now. Hasn't been fun to watch. And then finally, I want to mention one other driver. I'm not going to harp on Legacy Motor Club. They've been struggling. That's obvious. I've already talked about how impressed I am with Ricky Stenhouse. I've talked about Bubba Wallace and his hot streak. RFK, I've been impressed by their speed. I've talked about that quite a bit recently. One driver I haven't talked much about, who's quietly putting together his best season by far, and he's getting rewarded this weekend, is Corey LaJoie. I didn't realize until I looked at the stat sheet, he has 0 DNFs this year. He hasn't finished outside the top 30, and that's partially why he's sitting 19th in points, only 38 points out of the playoffs. And that's before he gets to drive for Hendrick Motorsports this weekend in the 9 car. I don't want to put any more pressure on Corey, but this is a great opportunity to make up another 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 points on that cut line if he has a great day. We have to acknowledge that, Chase Elliott's injury, Chase Briscoe's penalty, that's helped Corey LaJoie out a bit. He'd be 21st or 22nd in points without those issues. But still, for a driver and a team that typically sits around 28th, 29th, 30th in points year after year, what a step forward from Spire, from Corey LaJoie. He is by far having his best season ever. Is he a playoff contender though? That's the question. We just talked about the back-to-back. He's currently ahead of Austin Cindric, a Team Penske driver. I don't see Corey LaJoie winning anywhere that isn't a super speedway, but we've still got Atlanta and Daytona to go. If I had to bet the house on it, I would not be picking Corey LaJoie to make the playoffs. But Spire has taken a huge step forward from last November to this season. All they have to do is take a slightly smaller step forward, and they could very much be playoff contenders. It's tough because Chase Elliott could easily win a race and vault himself ahead of Corey LaJoie. Alex Bowman, currently the 16th place guy, is probably going to move forward, making that cut line harder and harder to reach. He still has to go through Ty Gibbs. We talked about Daniel Suarez and a Trackhouse car. Those are some tough competitors, but I'll never say never when it comes to Corey LaJoie. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What kind of odds would you give Corey LaJoie when it comes to making the playoffs, potentially? How do you think he does this weekend in the number 9 car? Shoot, he could go out and get a win at Gateway and qualify for the Drivers' Championship that way. You never know. Leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. If you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the latest NASCAR news. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your very generous support. I will see you again later this weekend. If you're heading out to Gateway, once again, be safe, drink a lot of water, have a good time. If you're going to see the Xfinity race in Portland, I haven't actually looked at the weather, but I hope that's a fun race as well. Gonna be a busy weekend. I'll talk to y'all when it's over. Take care, y'all.